Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is anna-mart, or Sam for short. In this week's video, we are going to do some rigging. If you haven't seen part 1 or 2 of this series, click on that card up there, or go to the link in the description below. Let's get right into it. Welcome to part 3 of this beginner series. In this video, we are going to add some rigs to our meshes. This is going to be the end result of today's tutorial. This is where we left off last time. First of all, we're going to go back into object mode with set solid, so that we can work on our meshes without it being grainy the whole time. We are now going to add bones to our objects, which will enable us to move the bones around and then move the mesh around as well, so that we can animate it without having to deform the mesh with every single vertex every single time. So to do that, we have to create an armature. So Shift A, and then if you go down in the menu, there's this armature option. So just select that, and then this weird looking object will appear. This is called a bone. So the first thing we want to do once we've added a bone is go to the properties panel and then select this green man thingy, which is the armatures tab, and then go to in front and select that. This will basically just enable us to see the bone no matter if it's behind something else or not. Now we want to go into front view and then move the bone with G to the tip of the handle. Then we can go into edit mode on the bone. So press tab, and then we will be able to select each of the 3 parts of the bone. So first go to the thinner side of the bone and select the ball on the end, and then move it with a G down to the base of the handle. Then we want to extrude this by pressing E and then X to make sure it's straight to the other end of the pan. And that's the only bones we will need for the pan. So we can go out of edit mode, tab, then hide the bones as well as the pan so that we can do the egg now. So Shift A again, armature, then go to the properties panel and click in front. Then we want to go into front view again and move the bone to the left side of the yoke. Then if we go into edit mode and select the top sphere, we can move it down to the other side of the yoke. And then position that accordingly. Then we want to extrude both ends of it to the ends of the white. But first we want to go into top view and rotate the egg around so that the longer sides are on each side of the bones. So press tab to go out of edit mode, select the egg and rotate it to around there. Then select the bone again and go back into edit mode. Select the sphere, and then extrude it on the x-axis to the edge. And the same on the other side. Then we can go into front view and drag the edges down. Another important thing we want to do is make sure that this left bone is connected to these other 2 bones, because they usually work in one direction. So as you can see, these bones go to the right, but this other one goes in the opposite direction, which means it is probably not connected to the other 2. So if I go into pose mode by Control Tab and selecting pose mode, then I can move these around by pressing G, and then I can see that this left bone is not connected to the other 2. But if I select the middle one and press G, the other 2 move together. If I go back into edit mode, tab, and select the left bone, shift select the middle bone, and press Ctrl P, it'll give me this option to make it a parent, which will basically just connect it. But I don't want it to actually be connected, because if I select that, then the bone will move out of position. So I want to press Ctrl P, and then keep offset. And then if I go into pose mode and move the middle one, they will both move at the same time, but the left one is still disconnected, but it's fine because at least it'll move along with the middle one. Now we can go back into object mode, Control Tab, and unhide the rest. So now that we've made the armatures, we want to do the more difficult part, which is connecting the meshes to the armatures. So let's hide the egg and its rig for now. If we select the pan and then shift select the armature, we can do the same thing as before and parent them together, which will connect them. Control P, and then this time you want to select with automatic weights. And if we go into pose mode on the armature now, and go into front view, you can move this and then you will see that the mesh will move along with it. just like that. But I don't really want the pan part to move as separately from the handle as it does now. So we want to make some changes on the weighting. This is a little bit more advanced, but we'll only do some basics for now. So select the armature, then shift select the pan, then press Ctrl Tab again, and now we have a lot of options. And this time I want to go into weights paint, which is at the upper left corner. Then all these random colors will appear on the pan. To select a different bone, just press Ctrl and then select the other bone. To see our weighting options, go to the Properties panel and select this top icon, which will give us this new tab. And this will allow us to draw weighting onto the pan. And weight is just basically how much influence the rig or bone has on that part of the mesh. So red is 100% influence and dark blue is 0% influence. So as you can see, if I rotate this bone, everything that is red moves along completely with the bone, but the blue parts, the handle, doesn't. And we want to change that a bit so that when I move the pan down, the handle bends a little to give it a more cartoony and movable effect. So first of all, I want to Control select the left bone and hide it, and then Control select the other bone so that we can draw on the handle without the other one hiding our vision. If you select this picture here in the Properties panel, it'll give you other painting options. But the only two that we are going to use in this video is Subtract on the right and Add on the left. So let's click on Add, and you'll see there are a number of other options as well. The weight, which I just told you about, 1 would be red and 0 would be blue. Let's keep it at 1 for now. And the radius is how big our brush is. You can also change that by just pressing F and then dragging your mouse in and out. And the last one is strength. And that is how much effect each click or drag of your mouse has. So at the moment it says 0.2. If I click on the handle, it'll only change it a little bit. If I put it on 100% strength and click then, you'll see it has a much larger effect. Another thing that we want to do is go to Symmetry and click on Y, which will allow us to mirror everything we do. So if I draw on this side and go to the other side, you can see the same thing happen there, which is very useful. So what we want to do now is let the influence gradually go from red to blue on the handle, so that when we move the pan down, the handle will bend along with it. So to do that, we just have to drag our mouse across. I'll zoom out a bit and draw on the handle, just like that, with the most influence at the base and then going down as we go along. And if you realize you did too much on the one part, just click on this image, click on Subtract and then Draw, and it'll take away everything that you drew. As you draw, you can change the strength of your brush and the weight of the brush to be more specific and make sure that it looks just as you want it. If we now rotate the pan, you'll see something strange happening. The handle would deform really weirdly, but that is only because both of the bones has the same weighting on the same parts of the mesh. So to change that, we Alt H to unhide the other bone, Control select it, then hide, and as you can see it is red on the same parts that we just drew with the other bone. So we want to change that so that it doesn't have the same weighting as the other bone on the same parts of the mesh, which will make it go haywire as you just saw. So go to Subtract, and then we want to remove this. You can make the strength and the weighting more to do it more quickly, and basically go in the opposite gradient as we did with the pan. If you want, you can remove everything and then draw it back in from the opposite side. You can just go back to Add and then draw it back in like that. If we now control select the other bone and rotate it, you'll see that it still looks really weird, but it is better. Now we want to do some final touches to just make sure it bends nicely. Go to a bend position and then left click the sign to leave it there. So you can add some weighting here and there until it looks less weird. It is tricky because the shape of the handle is not that easy to work with, but once it looks like this in the bent position and it doesn't deform that weirdly, then you know yours is fine. For the animation, we are not going to rotate it any further than there at the top and there at the bottom, so you don't need to make it look good over there because then it will deform weirdly. To go out of this bent position, just press Alt R and then the rotation will be removed from the bone. Let's unhide the other bone, Control Tab to go out of weight paint mode, and then press on Object. And we can unhide the rest of the meshes and rigs, and then hide the pan and its armature for now. Let's move on to the egg. Hopefully the egg will go much more quickly. So we are going to do the same thing again. Select the egg, then Shift select the armature, then Control P to parent them with automatic weights. And then this time I don't think we will have to do custom weight painting because the egg isn't so complex. So just Control Tab to go into pose mode and then check to see if it looks and deforms right. So to rotate that, and that looks good to me. That's exactly how I want it to rotate and move. So we can go out of pose mode, Control Tab, and unhide the rest. And now we are done with the rigging. That was fairly short and not as complicated, but we are finally done with the rigging. And in the next episode, we can animate it. I hope you enjoyed that video and that you were able to follow along. Please ask in the comments below if you have any questions or if you just want to say hi. Please remember to like, subscribe and hit the notification bell. I'll see you next week. We will animate our egg.